Tenants in Brooklyn are upset because they say the city is not providing them with the free lawyers that they were promised. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the whole issue where the cities and municipalities have passed laws that say, hey, we're going to give tenants free lawyers so that they can fight their eviction cases. Now, I think these laws are horrible, okay? I think it's a bad thing when you have a civil case between two parties, being the landlord and the tenant, and then you're saying, well, we're going to give a free lawyer to one of those parties so that they can fight their case, while the other party, the landlord, has to pay for their lawyer out of their own pocket or fight their case without a lawyer. That's a completely unfair system, in my opinion. But they say, oh, well, the landlord is at a big advantage because they have a lawyer and they can afford the lawyer, but that's not always true. As I've mentioned many times, small landlords in particular are not always wealthy. Many small landlords are middle class. Some of them are even lower class, and they can't afford lawyers either. So providing the tenant with a free lawyer when the landlord can't afford a free lawyer is completely ridiculous, in my opinion. Not only that, but the majority of the times when tenants are fighting their cases, it's a frivolous fight. It's a pointless fight. Why is that, you might ask? Because more than 90%, I believe it was 92% the last time I looked up the statistic, 92% of eviction cases are for non-payment of rent. The only thing that these lawyers are doing is delaying the inevitable. Okay, these tenants need to go. They need to go find somewhere else to live that they can afford and get the heck out of these properties, or they need to pay these landlords the money that they are owed immediately. Otherwise, you're wasting your time trying to fight the case. The only thing that these lawyers do is drag out the case longer and longer. The landlord gets paid even less. They lose even more money. The landlord is spending thousands of dollars on their own personal lawyer. So we're taking these huge losses. And you know what we do when we take losses? We raise our rents, or we raise our fees, or whatever, in order to make up for that. Okay, so in New York, obviously, a lot of landlords are under rent control policy, so they can't raise their rents. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to defer maintenance. They're going to, they're going to make these buildings so obsolete, so outdated, because they have to go through such a amount of nonsense getting through these eviction courts that, the place will be substandard in terms of the housing. And that's not good for the tenants. That's horrible for the tenants, in my opinion. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. What do you think of municipalities and cities paying for lawyers, for free lawyers, mind you, for tenants? Do you think this is a good idea, or do you think this is a bad idea? And obviously, once you put this sort of entitlement out there, in this case in particular, you see, once this entitlement is out there and these people, they're not getting it for free like they wanted, well, oh man, you don't even try to take it away. Don't even, now these people are claiming it's their right. It's my right to have a free lawyer. Listen, you're not entitled to anything. Simply put, anything can be taken away. And in the case of New York, I think the main thing that is causing this issue is budget problems. They don't have enough money to pay all the lawyers for all these tenants going through the eviction process. So before I get into the article itself, there's a video that goes along with it. So let's watch that video right now.
Passed back in 2017 under the de Blasio administration, the right to counsel grants tenants facing eviction like Beverly free legal services, including representation in housing court.
We are tired of landlords harassing us with eviction cases.
And while Beverly has representation today, she says this isn't the case for other tenants.
We don't have no lawyers to represent us.
We reached out to the Brooklyn Housing Court, who issued us a statement saying, in part, the court system is not denying litigants counsel in housing court. The inability of the right to counsel providers to staff intake calendars is the real reason.
All right, you saw the video. Now let's get into the article. This article is coming from brooklyn.news12.com, and it says, Brooklyn tenants say housing court is denying their rights in eviction hearings. Yeah, their rights. So let's get into it. Members of the Flatbush Tenant Coalition protested at the Brooklyn Housing Court Monday, saying the city's court system refused their right to counsel and created hardships for thousands facing eviction. Passed back in 2017 under Mayor Bill de Blasio's administration, the right to counsel grants tenants facing eviction free legal services, including representation in housing court. Some tenants received representation, but protesters say others have not received that right. Tenants say without the representation, court cases can only last several minutes and result in them becoming homeless. Yeah, and that is the truth of the matter, okay? Without representation, you don't have a case. You don't have a case. You owe the rent. You didn't pay the rent. Guess what? You got to go. That is what the courts are there for. The only thing that lawyers are doing is filing useless motions, dragging the process out. They can't actually disprove the fact that you didn't pay. Okay, so what is the issue here? Now they're saying that, oh, well, in a lot of these cases, the tenants aren't paying because the landlord didn't do repairs that were requested or necessary or didn't fix problems that arose. Well, you know what? How do you prove that you did make the repairs that the tenant, like if a tenant makes a repair, landlord needs an adequate amount of time to actually get the repairs done. And you know what? If there's a problem in it, do we have to fix it to the tenant standard, or are we fixing it to the actual, housing code standard? Okay, so yeah, maybe you're not satisfied with the way it's fixed, but it is fixed. Now, simply put, the tenant can decide to stop paying rent and then later come up with the excuse, oh, well, they weren't fixing stuff. Yeah, well, you know what? I don't believe you. I need written documentation that you were making complaints about problems. You know what I'm saying? Basically, the landlord should be trusted over the tenant in these cases because the tenant, simply put, it has the most opportunity to scam the system. Why in the world would the landlord not want to fix broken things in their building? Okay. Now, New York has an interesting a side part to that discussion in that they do have rent control there. And in some cases, landlords are dragging their feet with repairs, dragging their feet with maintenance because the cost, they can't recover, the money they spend on doing those things. So yeah, I mean, you know what? The situation is created by multiple different aspects of bureaucracy, which wouldn't even be in effect if they just allowed the free market to reign. They got rid of the ridiculous rent control, and they didn't have all of these tenant protections that make running a business extremely difficult for landlords. The Brooklyn Housing Court issued a statement to News 12 saying, in part, the court system is not denying litigants counsel in housing court. The inability of the right to counsel providers to staff intake calendars is the real reason. Protesters claim the housing court statement is false, suggesting that the judges have the power to slow down the cases. And that's the problem right there, right? They're like, oh, well, we can't get lawyers, so you need to slow down the cases. See, that's what they really want. They want to basically say, well, until all people who are being evicted get a lawyer, we're going to freeze the case. No. Okay? If you think the cases are already too slow in housing court, well, just imagine it being even way, way slower, as slowly as you wait to get a free lawyer. You know what? This is so ridiculous. This is caused by a place that doesn't care about property rights, a place that, basically is pushing pure socialism onto the populace, right? And now these tenants, they feel entitled to everything. They want free rent. They want free lawyers. They want everything free. They want someone else to pay for everything. Well, simply put, this is the real world, and you might have to pay for your own lawyer. If you're that worried about becoming homeless, go get your own lawyer, okay? You don't have to have a government lawyer. No, I don't even think they want a government lawyer. I just think they want the additional time before they go to housing court. This is ridiculous. What a stupid story this is. As of now, the right to counsel was only passed in the city. Organizers say they're looking to get the legislation passed statewide and fully funded with $172 million in the 2024 fiscal year budget. Yeah, well, you know what? This comes with a big price tag. And New York is one of those places that already has some of the highest taxes in the entire country. Now, telling people that, hey, you have to pay for lawyers, free lawyers for all these tenants, right? A lot of people aren't going to want to do that. A lot of businesses aren't going to want to do that. We're going to have to raise your taxes even higher so that these people over here who have no case, mind you, because they just didn't pay their rent, we have to give them free lawyers. Maybe that'll pass. Who knows? You know what? When these politicians are out there trying to get votes, they like to throw stuff out there like this that makes them look good, but doesn't actually help solve any problem. The only thing it really does is punishes landlords and takes away property rights.